regulatory backdrop to the AfCFTA has been responsive in some regards, whether it's on data protection. Absolutely, and the fact that we're champions mean that we can actually,
lead some of the reforms.
Lead some of the reforms. Provide some guideposts for countries who are lagging. So to conclude, Mr. Bama, there are, in order for any country to trade effectively under the AfCFTA, there are a mix of factors that can promote trade, whether it's infrastructure, access to trade finance, industrial capacity, targeted incentives, tax incentives, and other incentives for investment and for domestic production. What does Cameroon need to, what do policymakers need to do now to accelerate implementation of the AfCFTA?
There are a host of things which need to be taken into consideration to ensure a successful implementation of the AfCFTA. When you look at the AfCFTA from the continental perspective, it is an element within a whole program, Agenda 2063 of the African Union. The AfCFTA stands as one of the pillars of regional integration.
Just to remind the viewers, the 2063 agenda seeks to create a unified, prosperous, and inclusive development across Africa.
Coming back to it, I would like to mention here that the AfCFTA is one of the pillars of Agenda 2063, among others. So implementing the AfCFTA should not be seen as an isolated framework. At the Continental, it complements other frameworks, notably either accelerating industrial development in Africa, the Comprehensive Agricultural Development Program, the Single African Air Transport Markets, the Program for Infrastructure Development in Africa, PIDA. These are the pillars of regional integration that we want to achieve an integrated and inclusive Africa by 2063. So now, cut it down to the national level. When you want to put in place an AfCFTA strategy, these other pillars must be considered within the framework of complementary policy options to support the AfCFTA. If we are not industrializing, we are not going to trade. We are not going to benefit from the AfCFTA. And when you look at the national level, we have an industrial development master plan that has been put in place. We have the national development strategy. We have the import substitution strategy, which I'm not a strong fan of import substitution strategy. Those are concepts that were used back in the 70s, which have proven their worth. Today, countries are going to export-led growth. When you look at the Asian tigers, their economic development is driven by export-led growth. Yes. So now within the AfCFTA, they are tools that must be triggered and put at the highest level of alert. NTB elimination. So number one.
Non-tariff barriers.
Yes. Trade facilitation. Number two. Test equipment for product compliance is a critical factor. The laboratories to test products that are exportable.
So the certification of goods, which is done by
need to be prioritized. Because no country, today we have a fragmented compliance scheme on the continent. Also is doing some work to bring member states together to harmonize their position, but as we speak, it's a fragmented regime. And then this regime has to comply with minimal standard at the level of the WTO, and now with additional standard put in place by country based on geographies of those countries that are exporting products.
Now, if I can point
this
out,
is one of the serious impediments of AfCFTA trade between Cameroon and Nigeria. I can tell you on this, some shipments in Nigeria have been rejected because of standard compliance issues. So we must prioritize it.
Not only in Nigeria, even Akoko in Japan, right? But the question is, when do these standards become non-tariff barriers? Because it's important that we protect the health of Africans. We don't want people selling faulty products across the continent. We want Africans to be healthy and prosperous. So it's important that both sides how do we streamline that process?
Standards becomes NTB when they are not, when their enactment, when the regulations being enacted are not scientifically proven. When they are intended to distort trade or to prevent others from trading, they become technical barriers to it. And again, the problem of implementation, entities, implementation. When the implementation is done in a way that does not respect the regulation, they become entities. For example, multiple controls of a product along a corridor, which has been set aside. That's why we are talking about digitalization.
It increases the time of trade, and it increases the cost of trade.
That is it.
And in our case,
so, and this is peculiar in Africa. So there is need to eliminate all of this. There is need to build infrastructure to test goods that are moving across the continent to protect plant, environment, and animal life.
It's we have sanitary and phytosanitary standards.
SPS measures. SPS measures.
So, well, now beyond certification, for us at SECI, we try to ensure that we sensitize and train businesses on the operational tools of the AfCFTA, like the African Trade Observatory, so that businesses have a single platform where they can look at all of the rules, the requirements, and they see how the products need to comply before they export to other countries. Unfortunately, this is a very time-intensive and resource-intensive process. What must we do at the private, at the policy, but also at the NGO level to ensure that businesses have access to the skills and tools that we need to export to other states?
For NGOs and civil society, there is a need research and development. If you want to support AfCFTA implementation, research is critical. Research will enable you to bring information to the fore. Because as of now, a lot has been done in Cameroon, but that information is sitting in administrative drawers. Researchers need to go to these institutions, conduct research, collect this data, put it in a manner that it can inform businesses as well as policymakers on the steps forward.
What has been done and what should be done. So, I mean, of course, it's not particularly intuitive for something to do so, but we hope that we can partner with implementing agencies like the CNCC to be able to achieve this in the future. But in the absence of that, is it important for institutions to also ensure that such information is readily available on the websites and on relevant platforms?
Yes. It is critical to make information available. The agreement itself, as well as the protocols, they lay emphasis on transparency. When we talk about transparency, we mean by making information available. And transparency does not only mean by making information on regulations, making information on data, making information on procedures, making information on actions, so that people are informed about what is happening in terms of AfCFTA in state parties. So
for NGOs, we should go towards the implementing agencies.
Go to the implementing agencies
now
to be able to, the customs administrations, the shippers councils, the port authorities, the chambers of commerce, the business associations. It is important to approach them and be able to get information from them and also get their own opinion on the implementation of this technology. And also capacity development. That is a niche where we are expecting CSOs as well as other partners to be able to anchor their interventions on capacity building. And this capacity building should be able to target those actors who are on the operational level, rather than going at the policy level. The policy framework, the piece of legislation is there, which is the policy tool. Now we are at implementation. Where is implementation taking place? At the borders. These border agencies, their representatives need to be trained. Businesses need to be trained. Production chains need to be trained on how to produce. Sourcing managers in large firms or SMEs need to be trained for them to understand how to source their inputs. Because you might have an input which is in an AfCFTA state parties, you keep sourcing from the non-AfCFTA state parties, and then your goods are not eligible in terms of rules of origin. So all these actors need to be put into a room, capacitated to be able to equip them with the knowledge required to comply with the AfCFTA and rule it out in a manner that it achieves the objectives of the agreement.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Mr.
Thank you.
And hope to speak with you very soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.